Did you know Iran once had a democracy, but it was overthrown by the US and British governments? Iranian democracy was overthrown in favor of a monarchy by the US and British governments. In 1951, Iran democratically elected a prime minister named Mohammad Mossadegh who wanted to modernize Iran. He was wildly popular, and his administration introduced a wide array of social reforms like unemployment compensation and social security payments. He also introduced land reforms and forced factory workers to pay benefits to their sick and injured workers. He freed peasants from forced labor by their landlords. He also had a special focus on removing foreign actors' influence on Iranian affairs. And that's when he chose to nationalize Iranian oil, the Anglo-Iranian Oil Company, against US and British interests. And in that process, he also shut down the British embassy in Iran because he saw the Brits as the greatest threat to the country in the way that they were intervening in Iranian affairs. And in that process, he terminated the British concession on Iranian oil. So they were no longer receiving 50-50 concession on Iranian oil, they were now receiving zero. Now the British obviously didn't like that, but their embassy was now closed. There was nothing they can do about it. But the American embassy was still open. So in 1952, the British government conspired with US President Eisenhower to topple the Iranian government. Yes, incoming CIA M16 plot to overthrow a democracy for oil. And so the US hatches a plan. They first decide they're going to pay the military to turn on Mossadegh, and that was an abysmal failure. So what they chose to do instead is they took bags of money into Iran and threw them at the day laborers, people on the street, everyday citizens, to throw protests. These day laborers threw rallies in support of the current government, in support of Mossadegh. But at the end of every single rally, they trashed the cities. They practically destroyed Iran, burning buildings, trashing businesses, destroying people's homes. And it worked. People began rioting, looting, starting fires, trashing businesses, stealing, turning over cars, until the military had had enough. This happened day in, day out. Every day, violence was associated with the Mossadegh government. These rallies got so violent that nearly 300 people were killed, leading the pro-monarchy regiments of the military to storm the capital for Mossadegh's arrest. And following this overthrow, the US massively funded the Shah's subsequent government. And Mossadegh was imprisoned, charged with treason, spent the rest of his life under house arrest, where he died in his home, was buried in that home because removal of his body would incite political unrest. He lived the entirety of his life in isolation, and it wasn't until 2013 that the US finally admitted its hand in the coup. They admitted to paying protesters and bribing officials as part of their foreign policy initiative. All of this in favor of an oppressive monarchy that would allow Western governments to have access to Iranian oil. The US and British governments are the reason Iran does not have a democracy today.